The following content is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.
Hello, and welcome to the Everyday Therapy Podcast. I'm Julianne Schroeder.
And I'm JC Reeder.
And we're both therapists and registered yoga teachers at White Rock Counseling here in Dallas. And we are so thankful that you're tuning in today as we share tips, stories, and inspiration for your overall emotional wellness and your everyday therapy life.
Yes, and you can find us at whiterockcounseling.com. We're here in Dallas or online. And please rate and review us on iTunes. We would really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. And we have to introduce our sponsors first. And we're so excited because one of our friends just registered with them.
Yeah.
So it's therapyspace.org. And they're a therapy office where you can start a private practice. It's easy to get up and going. You can rent out spaces from them, or even just a therapist that needs like more accommodations.
Yeah, they make it super easy. I think it can be intimidating to maybe start a practice or change if you're going from full-time to part-time. And so I think that's just helpful. I know Annie Clark, shout out Annie Clark.
Just registered there.
Yeah, just signed up there.
And they're super cool, like hip spaces, like very contemporary, mid-century modern furniture. And they have like everything you need in your waiting room. So you don't have to think about all the little things like coffee, cups, paper, printers, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they've got it all there for you.
Yeah. And a great location too, easy off of 75 if you're familiar with Dallas.
Yeah. So. And it was created by therapists.
For therapists.
For therapists, which is super
So we
cool.
love it. Yeah. All things growth and helping others we're in.
And if you mention the Everyday Therapy Podcast to them, they'll give you their first month free. Yeah. Which is super cool. So shout out to us, and they should give you the 1 month free. So, but let's talk about our topic today.
Yeah, and introduce our guests, which, like, for real, I know we say we're excited every time, but we are especially excited today.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have our first boy on the podcast.
Man.
A dude.
Please,
we have a dude.
I'm a gentleman.
Gentleman.
Yeah, so today we're talking about dating. So we have the Date Podcast on our show today, and we got to be on their podcast, which is super cool. Julian, should we tell people to listen to that episode?
No, now we did, and now I'm going to have to reverse psychology.
Oh, there we go.
And say, yes, you should really listen to this episode or not.
You should 100% listen to the episode.
Yeah, they are very good at the psychology behind the podcast. And so they add a little bit of alcohol to the mix and get you to really say everything that you didn't want to say on a public platform.
Yep.
So I love it. So we have Emma. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So I am both a licensed marriage and family therapist and a professional counselor. My background has been mostly with like family and kids. I currently work in the school district setting. So it's a lot of fun. The kids are great, mostly elementary school-age children. So that's what I do outside of the podcast.
Such a variety for you.
Yes.
And what about for you, Zorric?
So I've been in tech for my whole life, and I launched a dating app called Bopsy. And from there, Em and I got together, and we started a podcast. But yeah, so my life's been relationships and dating and statistics and all that for about a few years now. So.
And an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So he likes to bring the romance and numbers together.
Yeah, because numbers are so sexy. Right?
So sexy. And Emma and I wore a red lipstick today.
Yes,
I have
we
my
did.
flowers on. Julian's wearing this sexy little romper thing. We're ready for a date podcast today.
Yep.
What is it about the red lipstick, Zorric, that we needed to know? You wouldn't tell me before the podcast.
I think for men, we don't like kissing women with red lipstick because it gets all over us.
Oh
it's
my
like
gosh.
the stay away color. Like, get away
That
from me.
makes so much sense.
But if you wear a red dress, like we're more attracted to the color red.
Right.
So.
There is some psychology behind that,
Yeah,
right?
lots of psychology.
So you can't see, I have red shoes on right now. And the purpose of that was because it's red. They're red shoes.
Yeah.
So, in podcasts, in our previous episodes, we've talked about, like, yes, don't wear the red lipstick, even though it looks amazing and great. It makes you feel powerful. Wear a red accessory instead or red clothing.
I love that. And good thing we're podcasting today and not on actual dates.
Yeah.
So we're okay with wearing our red lipstick.
Yeah.
But note to self.
Do you think men with foot fetishes look at their red feet, the red shoes, and that turns them on? Or
I mean, I would think so.
right?
It
Yeah.
would get me going if I had a
Yeah.
foot fetish. Leave it to Zorric to make.
Let's just start with fetishes.
See
right,
comments.
And it has begun.
So if whenever you guys listen to their podcast, it is amazing.
They just go
it's
like right into it.
hilarious.
Yeah, we do.
But I think we have to laugh at dating, or at least I'm saying I have to laugh about my dating experiences.
gosh.
And so, I mean, I can assume you all have had some experiences where like humor has been needed to get through.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What made you guys want to start this podcast?
I'm going to turn that question to Zorric.
Well, it was really to promote the dating app. And so
Okay.
it's just another avenue. And then when we did our first episode, it was really fun just talking about dating and love and our experiences. And we have 64 episodes now. And it's just been a great time, So and we're both single. Obviously, that makes it even easier. 'Cause I don't know.
We're like definitely in the
Yeah.
field of
Dating?
let's actually like try these things that we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
Emma, I'm sure you get this a lot, but being a therapist and dating, like, what are your challenges there?
So the number one challenge, of course, is like being on the date, and I'm very hesitant to when I'm online dating, very hesitant to even write what I do because I feel people already kind of have the stereotype of what I'm going to be, and so I lie and say I'm a teacher.
Perfect. Honesty is not a foundational aspect of relationships
Yes,
at
and
all.
then
That's
eventually I'm
not
like, so
important.
I'm not actually a teacher. I was like, let me tell you what I actually do. And I'm like,
okay.
if I tell you what I actually do, you cannot make statements about yourself. Like, don't ask me questions about yourself, because I'm going to be like, no, I can't.
And I think the reason that happens, like the question I always get is, or did get, was, are you analyzing
Yes.
me? Or, it's just like they feel intimidated
Yes.
or something.
And when I was working with eating disorders, what was funny is that I would have guys ask me if I was analyzing the way that they ate.
And you're like, yes, but it's not going to change.
So do you tell them that you're a therapist before sex or after sex? Does that happen? No?
I don't answer those questions on our own podcast, so I don't know why you're asking
I
me this
always
podcast.
get on there.
Emma is demonstrating a therapeutic principle about holding boundaries, right? And in the way that she approaches the first date, and here right now
Yep.
with an insistent and curious Zorric. So, Zorric, what are your hangups in dating?
Oh my gosh, everything. I'm single.
I like it when the
obviously.
tables are turned on him. It's my favorite.
Hang-ups as in just hurdles right now.
Yeah,
I think I don't know. I guess it's just finding someone to connect with at this point, right? As you get older, you get more serious, and you look for different things. Before it was like I'm in my 20s, I can just kind of date whoever, but now I'm just very, very picky at the moment. So yeah, and plus we've been doing so much research. We know so much
Intentional.
about dating, and so we're like, oh, if she did this, that means she's feeling this way or that way. Sometimes we overanalyze things because we kind of know a little bit about it. Right?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. One of my favorite things that Zorric is starting to do now is because we're doing this, and a lot of our guests have been therapists. You guys are included in that. We were talking about something. I cannot remember what the conversation was about, and he said, "Well, it depends." And I said,
That's such a therapist response.
I just
We've taught you
clapped.
well.
Yeah, and it's so true. Like even with dating, like it
Yeah.
really depends,
Right,
on
for sure.
everyone.
It does.
Yeah, I'm curious. What before we get started on
Okay.
like helpful things, what are some of y'all's like crazy dating stories?
Do you have any?
I can't share mine on air.
Because they're so perfect, I guess, right? They all work out.
No, because I can't share mine on air.
Uh-oh.
It's like it was that horrible that I just can't share it on air.
That's it, and we respect
Yeah.
healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what are
Yeah.
some of the ones that y'all have heard from your
heard.
guest?
Ooh,
Go ahead.
my favorite one was from one of our guests. Can I say her name? Should I say her name?
No, don't say
Okay,
that.
I'm not gonna say her name.
Oprah? Is it Oprah?
Yes, it's Oprah. It is
Public
Oprah.
on y'all's podcast.
It
right?
is. So one of our guests told us that she went on a first date with someone that had ducks.
Oh,
Yeah.
What?
well,
Ducks.
he had ducks in his fan.
And so when he he went on a date with her, ordered for her, was very it wasn't a good date. And so before the date, he had told her that he had pet ducks, and so that was his opening line. That was his way to get in, through the door. And so on the actual date, he had the ducks and a van that had the windows, painted over. And after the date, he was trying to convince her to go see to see the ducks, and she's like, nope, and left.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he wouldn't let her leave the date. It was like she was telling us a story, and it sounded like really manipulative. Yeah.
Well, the guy was like he was a surgeon, right?
Yes.
Oh,
And-
that's even more
but he
terrifying
also-
with Dr. Death coming out. And everything.
Yeah.
Was that who it was?
No.
Yeah, he was a surgeon, and he had some physical issues too. And so she felt like she had to go on the date and just to be nice. It was just a weird situation.
Yeah. And there is that like bit of responsibility and like kind of
Yeah.
feeling this obligation sometimes to go on dates or stay longer.
Which, I mean, I think I'm learning a way around that.
Yeah, because you've struggled with that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Have y'all
for sure.
experienced that at all? Like that obligation with dating of like staying a whole
Yes.
meal?
Yeah,
Or...
is it because you're not attracted to the guy initially? Because you can tell right away. Right? We talk about this all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
Like, you can
What's
tell.
the time on that? Like less than.
It's like 100 milliseconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like the
Super
human
quick.
brain can tell if I'm
Yeah.
attracted to you or not. So it's really quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
So what do you do when that happens? Do you just like walk out?
I'm not well. You see,
Julianne stays the next 4 hours.
Well, yeah. Oh no, I talked about this on our podcast.
Oh, yes, you
Yeah.
did. Uh-huh.
But this idea of, okay, we can have boundaries and we don't have to protect other people's feelings and we can say what we want and we need. But one way that made it easier for me is to put this out even before we meet. And on, just say, if you want to meet for a 0 date, it's like 1 hour or 1 drink to see if we have the fit to have an actual date.
And that's
So
on your profile already?
it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it releases the pressure for me to.
You're setting it up front.
Yeah, because I think a foundational aspect of any healthy dating relationships, which you all can probably attest to, is at the beginning, being very clear from the start. Like it's easier to establish patterns than to change them. We all know that.
Like lying about your job, right, Emma?
I just don't want to get questioned.
Do as we say.
Yeah. Do as we say, not as I do. I say that all the time too, though.
right.
I think this time it is changed. It does say it just says like family
School
therapist.
counselor.
Yeah,
I
it
feel
just
like that's less intimidating.
yeah, it just says family therapist.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the marriage part because I think it's the marriage part that freaks people out. Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, Zorric, do you have any crazy dating stories? What's your craziest one?
Not really. I just had one date where she was 30 minutes late. But she was like texting me. She was saying, okay, I'll be there. Something's going on. But she finally got there 30 minutes late. And it was a pretty good date until she started talking about cocaine. And how much she loved. I mean, it's fine if you like cocaine. It's just not my thing. But she was kind of justifying that cocaine's great for the work environment because it keeps her up and her friends do it all the time. And then
Ziggy's enjoying that
and
one.
it was crazy because at the end of the date, like the waiter is like, "Hey man, I can tell this is the first date." Because after that conversation, I was just like,
The waiter's like feeling bad for you. Like, do you need an out? Like, here's a hand signal. Like,
And which, by the way, like we have gone over articles that say like your bartender can tell if your date's going to be successful or not.
Oh,
based on the
wow.
interactions. Yeah, no, I actually like doing that sometimes when I go out and like watching other people and be like, yeah, no, they're good in their relationship. No, you can tell a lot by body language, right?
Oh, for sure.
80% of
Communication
is through that. So I'm sure. Yeah.
Definitely. Ziggy, do you have any crazy dating stories over there? Are you cracking up?
I would like that one lady's number at the end of the show. So
Perfect match.
I work so much that I don't really make time to date that often. In fact, in the last 2 years, I've been on 3 blind dates.
Okay.
And I was stood up all 3 times.
Oh my
Dang,
gosh.
Ziggy.
Yeah.
Man, that's
That's about it.
That's not fun.
Ziggy,
At least
can
it
I
was
set you
blind.
up on a blind date with a teacher?
Sure. Okay.
I'm trying to think of like who his teacher friends are.
But she might really be a therapist.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
Zorric
so
likes to
that-
push boundaries.
I feel like that kind of goes into our next thought, which is dating is super freaking difficult. Why is it so difficult?
One thing is, I think, choice.
Yep.
The choice
FOMO,
paradox.
right?
Like so many different choices.
So many ways to meet people. There's so many dating apps out there.
Yep.
But there's a lot of single people out there too. And that's, I think the first issue is we talk about this, like, you got to figure out what you want in a
Right.
partner, right?
Right.
And most people, I think, don't.
Right.
So if you can establish that, then it makes it much easier.
Yeah.
So we had a matchmaker on the show, and she asked me like what I wanted in a relationship, because Zorric, of course, like told her to, ask me questions, and also she asked me like what has stopped me from like being in relationships in the past. And so like I think those 2 questions are really important. And then we had another guest that also asked me the same thing. He said, it's really difficult for women to say what they want because they can tell you what they don't want in a man or in a relationship.
So use that to understand
Right.
what you do want, is what you don't want.
So
Start
don't
there.
focus on the don'ts and the no's. Start focusing on like what it is that you actually want.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, is there a difference between identifying what you want in a relationship versus what you want in a partner?
I think it's all the same, I think, right? Because in a relationship, your partner has to give you that in the relationship. So I think it's the same. So for example, what's something that you're looking for in a relationship?
Honesty, always.
It took me a while. We would not be compatible.
Yeah.
Cocaine user, is that fine?
Yeah,
I mean, it's a
think I'm
plus.
I like people who are fun, but perhaps more sober fun. Less illegal activities
Yeah.
and damaging to the brain and the body. Anyways, what else am I looking for?
One, yeah, and I'm curious, like,
Yeah.
honesty, so that would translate in a relationship as, like, having an honest relationship.
Sure. Yeah, I guess, I don't know, I pose that question because, also take into consideration, too, like, what you're bringing to the relationship, right?
Your own responsibility.
And so looking at this idea of people always wanting something different, but I guess maybe perhaps having a more realistic view and looking at yourself and how you're bringing that into the relationship.
Definitely.
Instead of, a psychological principle of like projection, like, oh, they don't have this, right?
Right.
But like, what am I not doing to like really bring this out?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it also falls into the values that you have as a person, the values that like your partner has, and then like the shared values in the relationship, right? Because you and your partner can have very different and similar values just individually, and in the relationship, your values like can be almost identical. And so just
I
thinking
like
about
that,
that
yeah.
in mind too. when it comes to values, because again, like, let's say like just political parties, because, you know, like if you're different political parties and you both value the fact that like you're in a loving relationship and that's not going to influence it, like that's not the relationship value. That's your individual value, but it doesn't affect the relationship.
Yeah.
So do you guys think that you can be different affiliations and still date?
I think it depends, right? Like
Right.
on each person.
It depends.
And I think it would be really hard for me. Like I appreciate having that similar interest with my partner. But I don't know. I see that it would be doable, but I've never actually tried to date somebody that's different politically. Yeah. What do you think?
No, that's such an interesting thought. I mean, this is like the crux, I think, of labels and identification. Like, it's helpful to an extent. But, I mean, if I'm, to be honest, like looking at, you know, I look for certain things on, say, like a dating profile. And if they don't match, I swipe.
Oh, they're too conservative or liberal or whatever.
Right. And, I mean, because that's the weeding out process. But I understand when you don't really get to know a person, you don't know fully who they are.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like with your process, Zorric, of like figuring out what you want, like how has that been for you?
Well, I know the trend today is to put your political affiliation on there. If you're a Trump supporter or you're a Democrat, Republican,
Yeah.
that's
They
a
are
big
asking
thing
that
lately.
now.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a big thing lately. And I've been asked on a date, like which side I lean.
You've been asked a
A
few
few times, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
So I'm not very political, and we don't talk about it on the podcast either. Like never.
Yeah.
Like maybe like one time we've talked about it, and this is probably the longest we've talked about anything like that
Right.
ever.
Yeah.
But
And we're still keeping it very like general and vague.
yeah. But that makes it a little bit more difficult today. That's one thing.
Yeah. Because people are so like one-sided or
Yeah.
very
Right.
passionate. I really like, do y'all know who Whitney Cummings is?
Yes.
Love her. Did y'all read her book, I'm Fine and Other Lies?
No, but she's
No.
super raunchy though. You know that, right?
She's raunchy, she's funny.
Zorric is smiling
But
because this
she's
is
also
what he
like
likes.
his
super
favorite word.
emotionally intelligent and mature. And so one of her dating tips, ideas was to, like you said, Emma, was to write down like before you start dating of I want this in a partner. So one column of I want. I need in one column, like I have to have kind of deal breaker things, and then red flags in another column. And I just love that, like laying that out beforehand. What you're laughing?
I'm laughing because I created, I think I was 18 or 19 when I did this. I created note cards of my like green light qualities, my yellow light qualities. So it was kind of like, it's not a big deal if he does have them or doesn't have them, but my green ones were kind of like, this is what I want. And then I had my red light things.
Oh, that's perfect.
So, and
Green, yellow, and
I
red.
found them recently because I was moving, and so I was packing stuff up, and I found them in an old wallet, and I just like looked through the list, and I'm like, okay, there's some things need to change because 18-year-old Emma like wasn't as wise as I am now. But what was funny is that some of like the core values and like the core things that I still want like are there. And so one of my most important ones is that one of the red flags was like doesn't get along with my parents or my sister. Because if you don't get along with them, like yes, I may care about you, but these people like are stuck with me the rest of my
wait, Emma,
life.
that's like a long time in a relationship, though, right? When do they meet your sister and your
Right, they meet my sister first. That's something I've said too. They meet my sister first, kind of get her approval, and then they'll meet my parents. But before they can meet my parents, like I have to know that it's gonna go somewhere. So by the time that they meet my parents, it's because we've had the what are we conversation.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
And you
Yeah.
kind of have that layer of like friends too.
Yes. Yeah. So it's
Give you
really
their
honestly,
opinion.
it's like one of my friends and my sister, and then family.
Yeah. And I think that those are red flags. Like if friends or family members aren't liking somebody you're dating, like you really need to think about that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, from your perspective, Emma, like working with clients that are clear on what they want, but then they get kind of hung up when they're not finding what they want or like hang on to relationships. You can speak from professional or personal experience. It's whatever.
A friend.
A friend of mine who has the same name as me. No. So I've been personally, like, I was in that situation where I was dating someone that I knew I shouldn't have been with. I knew that this relationship wasn't going to go anywhere. I had friends tell me this relationship wasn't going to go anywhere, and I stayed. And part of it was because of that. For me, it was the fear of, am I ever going to find someone? And it was more of like, I am successful everywhere else, and this is the one part where I'm not. And so the low sort of like self-worth value was really coming from this part. And so, you know, one of the things that like I had to do for myself is figure out, like, what about the relationship part makes it so important to me that I'm willing to not be authentic in it. Right? Not be my true self. And so, you know, a lot of that is just work within myself. So like, what about this actually do I value, or what is it that I'm fearing if it doesn't happen? And I realized that it was more based on fear.
Yeah, the fear of, okay, I'm not going to find somebody where we have this connection that we do have.
Well, and thank you so much for sharing that, because I can't tell you how many times I've had that thought and how many clients I've heard have that thought.
Yeah.
Which majority of them were women. Do you ever experience that, like, fear of not finding somebody or not meeting the right person?
Yeah, I think, well, the holding on thing, I think it's more emotion versus logic. Right?
Right, for sure.
So 80% of decisions are made through emotion and 20% are logic, right? So in our logical selves, we should break it off.
Right.
Right? But we don't.
Right. And logically, I knew.
Yeah.
I did it. I tried breaking up with this dude like twice, and it wasn't until the third time that I was like, this is it. And that's whenever I said, like, I need outside support. So I reached out to friends and said, like, I need you guys to help me keep these boundaries and limits that I'm about to place, because I knew that I would go back if that didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's smart to know yourself, and then also give yourself permission when you like couldn't do things differently to enlist the help of others. Like, I think that's what's so important, like in dating and relationships too. Like, I mean, it's so complex for so many reasons. Right. I mean, and that need to be accepted and loved is real, and it's like strong, right? And based on our experiences, our personality types, like, we just sometimes get lost.
Right. And it goes back to, you know, what Zorric said originally, that it's that fear of missing out, because we're so worried that, like, am I ever going to get married? If this doesn't happen, then what is going to happen to me? And, you know, and then worrying, like, if I'm in a relationship, is there a relationship out there that's going to be better for me, that's going to make me a better person? And remembering that, like, the relationship doesn't make you a better person. Like, you make yourself a better person.
Yeah, you have to love you.
Yeah.
So Zorric, I'm super impressed, like, with you and like getting clear on you and knowing what you want and you don't want. Like, do you think focusing on you has helped you to that point, or what's allowed you to be, I guess, very selective in your dating?
Yeah, I think I forced myself to be single for a good 2 years, and I've never been single for 2 years in my life since 14, and I'm old. Since 14, I've always been in a relationship. And
Serial monogamous.
Yes, definitely. But so I was going to therapy at the time, and my therapist said, just do your thing. Like, so I did. So I was traveling, I did improv, you know, we started the dating app, the podcast. And so I think time for myself has helped me figure out what I really want, right?
Yeah.
I got a couple master's degrees, you know, just things, obviously.
Just a couple things that
Ladies
a
out
degree
there,
would
if
do.
you're
You know, and that's something that I work with on my clients, right? Because we have to have a healthy self before we can be in a healthy relationship. But I mean, did you find it hard at first, or did you, like, you know, that, like, breaking off and focusing just on yourself? Like, what was that really like?
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part, to focus on yourself, because I would rather be going on a date with somebody. I think life is meant for two, right?
Yeah.
But I was traveling alone, I was doing things alone, and it was hard at first. And then now I'm really used to it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's also an issue today with me. I'm used to being alone and being single.
Yeah.
And
Like,
I
with
my
anything, you
freedom.
can swing on a pendulum, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then when you jump into dating, it's difficult, because you'll go on a lot of crappy dates. A lot of
You can
crappy
say
dates.
shitty.
a lot of shitty dates, and then 8 out of 10 will suck. You'll just want to like stab your eye out while you're in the middle of the date. I mean, literally, it's crazy.
Tell us how you really feel.
That's how I feel, but
I think that that's so important though, because I do have so many clients, and then also myself included, that you just expect to go on like a few dates and like find the person,
Right.
But it's more of like practicing versus like it being a goal. So much.
it's like you have to fail yourself to success, right? You're gonna fail, and then you look back, you learn, and then maybe you dated somebody that you thought you liked, but now you realize you shouldn't be dating this person because maybe he does cocaine or whatever it is, right?
Oh, people can actually see me roll my eyes at you.
But yeah, and it's also if the date is shitty, you can always learn something from somebody, right? And you don't have to be mean. Come on, you can just talk. I'm just kidding, but you can just talk. And
Well, yeah, I mean, it sounds like what everybody's like come to is like it's important to focus on yourself, and then like you've kind of made a way to find how to make dating fun in your own way. Like just find. You said you wanted to stab out your eye. 8 out of 10 dates.
I was like, where did the fun part come in?
But in the sense of like, I'm gonna get something out of this, even though like it wasn't that fun. I'm gonna like connect with somebody on a certain level.
yeah, maybe I'll focus on the food, or I'll
Okay.
hit on the waitress. No, just kidding.
Please don't do that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, you have to make it fun, and because it's gonna suck at first, right? When you're first single, I think we get a lot of this like, how do I date?
Yep.
And really, the question is first, are you ready?
Yes.
Figure out if you're ready, and then second, just get out there. You
Just
get
do
nervous,
it.
just do it. It's just like anything in life. You can't hold back.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing that we've noticed that people who are recently single too, like it goes back to they're great about telling us what they don't want. And we don't really know what they want. They don't know what they want, right? And a lot of times like we hold to these thoughts that we had about the previous relationship, and we're worried that this is going to affect the current relationship, and just that can affect the current relationship, because it's sort of like we're setting up this new relationship for failure because we think that these are all the things that are going to happen again. And so like honestly, like when you're in that new relationship, like being in that new relationship.
Yeah, really speaking to grieving the past relationship, letting it go, and then kind of being present with where you are.
Right.
Yeah, and I say just open up your boundaries. Like date everybody, because you never know.
like
Because
that.
some people have types. Like I know Ziggy over there. He has a type. He probably dates that same type. But come on, man, you just got to branch out. All right.
When he's not working.
Yes,
It's not working exactly.
that type is no one.
Oh no. But
Yeah, like you think that you have a type, and so really trying to like date everyone to see if that changes or
Yeah.
evolves.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're looking at me because I know you've said
Julian,
this.
do you want to speak on that?
No, I'm just like, you have told me this before, that I am a little too rigid in.
Well, do you like agree with that? Like, does that fit for you? Because I can say that. One of your best friends can tell you that.
I'm there with you, Julianne, if it helps. I'm very rigid too. Like this one has helped me like
Yeah, well,
push through.
Branch out.
yeah, there are things I agree and disagree with. I'll just leave it at that.
In what way?
Well, okay, because I'm afraid of sounding vain, but I think, okay, let's be real. I know, JC, you have
I'm
said
sure
that.
other people are
Yeah.
kind of afraid of that too.
Yeah.
We're all vain. Come on.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
doesn't matter.
I'm pretty shallow, so it's good. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, I know, JC, you've swiped for me before
Sorry, Matt.
to try to find me someone, and they'll be like, JC, what are you thinking? No. And I mean, I'm a person, I have a lot of depth. I look for depth. And something I also know is that like there has to be that chemistry there. And I know you've pushed me to like try to go on dates with somebody that doesn't, I'm not attracted to initially. And I just, I can't, I don't think I can do that.
Yeah.
So, like, is it for you, like, seeing someone and being just, like, attracted to them physically, like, high on your list?
There has to be chemistry. And I mean, I do think obviously
Chemistry and what?
Yeah, what is chemistry to you? That's the
because
question.
I mean, there is like I have to be attracted to you physically, but I don't want to be dating somebody that looks like better than me. You know what I mean? Like I don't want somebody out of my league, right?
Goldilocks, just the perfect. But I think that that's a good point. I do think that a lot of people want somebody that they're like attracted to on
Right.
a certain level, and it might not be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But then like that might deepen a little bit. But you
Yeah.
want like some of that to be there.
Right. Well, and then when I talk about chemistry, other than the attraction, there's intellectual stimulation. There's being passionate about something. It's being genuinely interested in what I do.
Admiring them.
And yeah. I mean, it so much more encompasses, but I don't think that can happen unless there's an element of that physical attraction. And I feel confident saying this now because I think I hang up in the past, and I think for some clients in terms of figuring out what they want is, oh, am I afraid of asking for too much? And I know myself, like, and I don't. So anyways, we don't have to make this about
Don't
me.
stop asking. Like,
Yeah.
be upfront.
Yeah.
You know, don't be shy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you guys as far as like physical attraction? Like, do y'all like have y'all found that that's like very? I mean, I would think it's very important, but
It is important to me. Yeah, I've never denied that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she likes Jason Momoa. Is that the guy?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, always talking
Who's
about
he?
him.
Aquaman, Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
We
I don't watch
that.
TV.
Sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I actually don't watch TV.
I'll show you a picture of him later. Like, he's a beautiful little, like, God man.
but as far as like attraction, you can like 99% of men that are average looking will be swiped left on. So you see what we go through. I mean, it's just terrible out there.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, and,
wow.
and truly.
Oh, no. Now I'm feeling really bad.
Oh, see.
For our
Yes.
listeners, we have a picture that is pulled up of who is this again?
Pardon?
Jason
This is
Momoa.
Jason Momoa.
Okay, we got distracted. And back.
Oh wow.
So
Okay, so what
beautiful.
does that mean though for guys on dating apps?
That
So
means
you said 90%.
99%.
99%?
An average. So like women are swiping on the hottest guys only.
Oh.
Right,
That's it,
because the other thing that as humans we tend to do, men included, is that we on apps we tend to swipe on people that are like out of our league
Yes.
because we basically like swipe right on people that like are too attractive for us.
25%.
Because we like have this idea
numbers.
that like we deserve we deserve like Jason Momoa level, and
Yeah.
it's really like I deserve more like Jonah Hill, you know? Like I love you, Jonah Hill. Like that was horrible, but you
I
know.
think he's good looking. Come on, give him some slack.
He is good looking.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's you know, again, he's in that percentage.
99%.
you know?
Yeah.
I have so many clients who hate the dating apps. Some of them who have never tried it, don't want to try it. What do y'all like? What is y'all's take on that?
Well, a third of all marriages now start online. So
Okay.
get that in your brain.
I love these
Will,
stats.
will you say this again?
A
out
third
loud?
of all marriages start online now.
Wow.
So-
Since when?
I think that was a 2017 study.
Yeah, so we do a lot of studies on our podcast. He remembers all the numbers. I just remember the stuff.
The emotional, relational.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you know I think second is like through friends and church, but everything is below 20%. So it's
Wow.
just you have to jump on the bandwagon.
It's part of dating
It
nowadays.
is. Yeah.
It is because and so one of the things that like so if you know your clients patients don't want to go on dating apps, okay, that's fine. And so then what are you doing for yourself to go into the world saying, hey, I'm ready to date?
Yeah.
Patients are not doing that because I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah.
It's cold right now. Do I
People
want to
aren't
be out
doing
at
that.
a restaurant? No, I want to be at home in my comfy green sweatpants watching Netflix.
Jason
And,
Momoa.
but yeah,
Yeah.
maybe Jason Momoa will deliver your pizza, and then you'll get married and be happily ever
I don't
after.
know if anyone looking like Jason Momoa is going to be delivering.
Oh, you never know. You
They might be
never
at the
know.
gym, you
Yeah.
know, more than anything. And so in reality, one of the things that I've started to do, I haven't done it recently, is I just go have dinner by myself. And I just sit at the bar. Am I drinking? No. I just go sit by myself. And the purpose of that, like, yes, you can go see a movie by yourself. However, the movie, it's dark. You can hide in the dark.
It's not a place to meet
It's-
people.
Right. No one is talking during the movie. But if you go out to dinner by yourself and you sit at the bar, you are inviting someone else in your space. You're inviting someone else to talk to you. And so it's basically like online dating in person.
Yeah.
But we talked about this. You have to
Yes.
be smiling.
Yeah.
Don't do that
Your
resting,
nonverbals.
Face, right?
Like,
Yeah. Be
Making
open.
eye contact.
Eye
Not on your
contact.
phone.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
I have so many people that I know that have gone to the grocery store and they're like, well, I go to the grocery store and nobody talks to me.
Yeah, I'm probably looking at your grocery list
I'm
and
gonna
like
casually
getting what you
pose
need.
in the aisle by the chocolate. Just follow people. I'm running.
An hour
used to
of
hang
your
out-
week
yeah.
at the grocery store not buying groceries.
Hang out by the avocados, and so that way people ask, like, because people are gonna ask, like, how do I know if it's ripe? You can be like, let me show you, and you can pull that little thing and be like, this is ripe. Do you want it with my number?
Or if you like a guy who likes to travel, go
Yeah.
get in the travel aisle. If you like a guy who wears makeup, go to the makeup aisle. So different things. There's something for everybody at Target, right?
Yeah.
Target. No, but if you want to find a partner, like similar activities, interests, like what are you doing? To make that happen.
So definitely go on the dating apps and like you can put yourself out there to meet somebody organically.
Right, for sure.
And I'm just curious, do either of you think that you can meet your partner at the bar?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Meet your partner at the bar. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've met people before at the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
it
sober?
was short.
See, no,
Nope.
that's enough.
No.
Ziggy, go ahead.
Okay, no, you do it.
No.
What? Wait, what?
No,
Am I
it's-
hitting on him?
I was, it's kind of. She likes to go to the bar. She loves avocados.
No, but there's so many people that are.
This is the story of my life. It's like the date podcast, but like here
with new
live.
Yeah, no, there's so many people that are like, oh, I don't want to meet somebody at a bar, but I think really normal people go to the bar. Also, unhealthy people that are
Right.
there all the time. And
If you don't want to go to the bar, figure out what it is that you want. Okay, figure out what it is that you want and start hanging out in those places. If you are someone that wants someone that loves steak and potatoes, start hanging out at a steakhouse.
I appreciate it. Very
If you
straightforward.
want, if you want someone that wants to go rock climbing with you, start hanging out at rock climbing places.
yeah.
Or
You know?
the meetups, right? There's
Yep.
rock climbing meetups. There's
Yes, I love the meetups. There's
pole.
like,
Yep.
Have you
y'all
had-
have a meetup for
Yes.
the date podcast.
Yeah, we have
has
a
it.
we have a singles meetup, and it's a great time. And the thing there is, people are there to meet somebody.
Mm-hmm.
They're not at the grocery store. So if I'm a man at Target and I think someone's attractive, it's hard because she's
Yeah.
probably like married or has a boyfriend. But at these meetups, you know that hey, we're here to get down and get serious. Not really.
I love
That's like 50% of each date, but still. Meetups are great. We have one for people new in Dallas. That's one meetup. But we have a good 50 people there, and we have seen some success.
Is it 1 in 3 or what is the
It's not 1 in 3.
statistics
It's like
for
one-
that?
Well, for
It
ours,
hasn't been like 1% so far because it
It's-
was that one friend that was like a vegan that you set up with like another vegan.
yeah, I'm the
Yeah.
best host too. So
He
don't
is-
be scared.
He caters to you. He'll talk to people. He'll leave you alone, and I'm like sinking a little bit, and then he'll come back and rescue me.
What and that like speaks to like one of my dating philosophies that I felt like was super helpful for me. And I said that this kind of earlier, but is like even though it's 1% at these meetups, maybe we don't even know that for sure, but you're meeting people,
Right.
And so it's like about the process of meeting people and engaging and interacting and making new friends who have other friends, and not about the goal of like I want to marry you.
Right. Because and the other thing is like you're saying like patience, because we are on apps or we meet someone in person, and it's so when when is this going to become what it is? This beautiful
Yeah.
romantic novel. There's no delayed gratification. Like we want everything instantly, and
Yes.
that's not how life actually is. That's not how things work. And then unfortunately, we are now wired to think that because we have cell phones in our pocket that are smart and incredible and useful, that because we get everything so quickly by them, everything else in life needs to be that quick. And
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Even now, dating's kind of wired in our brain that way.
Yeah. And this makes me think of another point that we wanted to touch on. And, that instant gratification of something working out. The flip side of that is, how do you deal with rejection and keep going, right, in dating? Like, yeah.
You just have to
the
realize
worst.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna suck. You're gonna cry. It might be a one night stand, and after that, he never calls you again. That sucks, right?
Yeah.
And it's gonna happen, and you just gotta prepare for it. And then get back on the horse and keep dating. Yeah.
What did you tell me this past week? Because I was telling you, so I just got some exchange numbers with a guy, and I made a joke about, because it took him 3 days to respond, to even text me, and then I said something I made a joke about, oh, are you just following the 3-day rule? And the conversation was very short lived, and you told me something that I was like, okay, good, this is what I needed to hear in the moment. Do you remember what you said?
Remember that
I
one
don't
thing you
remember
said
what
that one time?
I don't remember, but he
Come
was.
on.
It was something
It
about
took him 3 days.
not kissing a lot of frogs. But
Oh,
it was
you'll have to kiss a lot of frogs to find that Prince Charming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my mom said something like that
Yeah.
to me. Shout out, Mom or Dad.
Reminds me of Albert Ellis. Do you know this study that he did?
I was going to say
Yes, say it. You
No,
tell
we
it better
both-
than me.
No.
We'll tell it
Remind me,
together.
'cause it's
So-
not coming to my mind right now.
Teach us.
Okay. Well, Zorric, you really just said the essence of how we deal with rejection. It's a very reality-based sort of a framework of understanding that's a fact of life. Something that we love to share with our clients.
Yeah,
His name's
instead
Albert
of
Ellis.
avoiding it,
Yeah.
you do what this guy did.
Yeah, he is. He's such a big dog in the therapy world and just really smart and with it. But he was also human, and he had insecurities, especially around rejection. So, being the badass that he was, he said, "Okay, I'm going to ask 100 women out."
Yes. Yep.
Right, and including strangers, where there would be
Was it 1,000?
Was it 1,000?
I don't. Oh,
It was
No.
a perfectly
was a
one,
lot.
and starting with 1, ending with a 0.
Yeah.
Okay, I wouldn't say it's 100. If it's 1,000,
Is he hot like Jason Momoa though?
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
he's not.
He was he's pretty older. I don't know. I just imagine him in my head as Freud a little bit. He looks
Yeah.
like Freud.
So what happened when he asked to?
Yeah. So he had more no's than yes. Do you want to just guess what his ratio was?
Were they able to see his
He asked out in person.
In
so
person?
imagine
This
okay,
was,
before
There's no dating
before
apps.
online dating apps. So really vulnerable, to put it out there.
Right.
Right.
There's just so many what ifs though.
You're a
10%.
logical thinker.
I'm gonna say
10%.
10%.
Yes, it was 10% that said yes.
That's about right,
So he
yeah.
had to deal with 90 no's.
Right.
And it's just like anything we expose ourselves to, right? It becomes less and less potent or
Well, and he was a super anxious guy, and so it was very anxiety provoking to even talk to
Right.
somebody. And then he said by the end of it, it didn't provoke any anxiety. It was, or maybe it was a lot less.
Yeah, I
it
think
was just more natural. So
think
exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it depends on his delivery.
it.
Because what if he wasn't like, hey baby. He was probably just, hey, can you go out with me? He's very timid and shy.
Yeah.
So it depends on how you approach a woman too. You just can't. You got to be firm and confident, and maybe he
So,
didn't have that.
Zorric, how would you ask, I don't know, Julianne out?
Hey,
you guys
Juliana.
putting each other on.
Zorric, ask Juliana.
Yeah, Zorric, ask Julianne out. Do we have any romantic music?
Oh yeah, do
gosh.
we have something? I need to get in the mood for this.
Bound Chico. I can do it for you.
Hey,
This
Julianne.
is what we do. We role play. in
What's
therapy.
that? What's that? You're drinking over there?
Some sparkling water.
Oh yeah. Is that your nice sparkling smile?
No, don't do that. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think of some of the best pickup lines I've had.
So,
That's
wait,
the
would
part
he
where-
get you with that line in real life?
I would have to
What?
do more probably.
Okay.
I'd have to juggle and I don't know, magic trick, something like that.
Levitate.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Okay, well, another point that I did want to talk about and see what you guys thought was ghosting. This whole phenomena of ghosting. I mean, it's rejection in a
Yep.
sense,
Yeah.
but it's so annoying to just if you're dating somebody just one time or a while and then just never hearing from them again. Is that just a part of dating now? We just accept it? Or
I think We do. We
Yep.
we have to accept it because I think
It's
there's a
gonna
stat.
happen.
I think like 78% of people have been ghosted. Millennials have been ghosted before. So that means like Emma's probably ghosted somebody.
I have.
JC probably. Julianne, she seems nice, so I don't think she's ghosted.
Actually, I tried when I was dating to, like, I knew I didn't like ghosting, so I was like, I'm not going to do that to somebody else. So I would send them, like, a long text and whatever it was, so to at least give them that. But I'm sure I did it once or twice, you know?
Yeah, I don't think you have to tell the truth. You just have to put some closure, you know?
Yeah,
I think it's just
like a bookend.
respectful.
Yeah.
If you've been like carrying on conversation, you know, like for me, if I've exchanged 2 like really basic texts with a guy, I don't necessarily feel like I have to respond. But if we've got up to the point where we're like learning about each other and, you know, have gone on a date or about to go on a date, set things up, like I just think it's out of respect.
Yeah. One of our friends who was on the show, who is kind of a dating expert, he said in one of his episodes, he was talking about whenever we send that text of the, you know, like it's not you, it's me, who's that text actually for? Is it to lessen your guilt or is it to actually help them? And so that's one of the things that like we need to keep in mind too as we're sending that text message is it like how much of this is so that I don't feel like I'm such a crappy person? And so like not having to go into these full-blown explanations, like that's not needed.
But yeah, would you say, like, would you recommend, because I guess I feel like I would want that closure, so that's why I have given that in the past or try to, but do you think it's unnecessary?
I don't think that it's unnecessary. I think that for me, it's like the more that I've been like in this, it's like keeping it more short and sweet.
Okay.
I don't have to go into a full-blown explanation. Like I don't have to give you my whole like reasoning behind why I don't think it's working out. Like it's not working out.
Yeah. You know, I just say, hey, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, appreciate getting to know you, and I don't think it's going to be a good fit. Or,
Is it face-to-face or is it over text or over the phone?
Typically over text, because I don't think a lot of people, at least what I've experienced now, like really ask in person much. At least I haven't been on the receiving end. But,
I think that's something that has definitely changed just, you know, again with cell phones is that we're doing everything more text based instead of like calling people and FaceTiming or.
Do you ghost, Zorric?
I have been ghosted and ghost before, so I've been on both sides. It sucks. But yeah, I think you just gotta be honest and say, hey. Usually I say, oh no, maybe I shouldn't say that. But no, usually I say.
He doesn't want to say what his line is.
No, but I'm truthful. You know, maybe I say something about how I feel like. No, I'm not very truthful actually. But I just say, I don't think it's gonna work out, or maybe I'm starting to date someone else more seriously, and sometimes that does happen. So you just communicate, and I think it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I think that for a lot of people, it's just knowing that it's like a common thing that happens now to not be super affected by it.
It's not about you necessarily. I mean, it could be, and so there's a lot of other factors, and most certainly online dating, while it has its advantages, like also breeds like this grass is greener on the other side,
Right.
and ghosting.
Depersonalization.
Yeah, depersonalization. Yeah, all that stuff.
When I get ghosted, I send a message. Maybe a few weeks later, I'll be like, "Hey Casper, where have you been?"
I love that.
The levity of that.
Sometimes you get a response, sometimes you don't. So,
No, but you communicate that. Well, just noticing time. Oh my gosh, we could talk about this forever,
Seriously,
right?
dating
Yay.
is so fun.
we should talk more about cocaine. Like, we
No,
haven't talked
stop
about-
it.
Maybe the next
Stop it.
episode.
Yes.
Oh, Ziggy
Look
found
at
more
Jason
photos.
Momoa again. Zorric, stop it.
Distracted.
I want to be invited again.
It's like the cat. I'm like looking at these different photos.
But
Thank you guys so much for coming on. Do y'all have any last advice for guests, or not guests, that would be you guys, but for our listeners on dating? Any last tips?
Go ahead, Emma. I know you
Words
have a
of
lot.
wisdom?
I always have things to say. It's like important for you not to take it just like dating yourself, the relationship, the person that you're dating so serious at the beginning. Like truly just have fun with it. Like these are, if it doesn't work out, like I've been telling myself this too, guys. So, I can speak from my perspective of you have a great funny story to tell later. You know, you have this hilarious story that'll bring you laughter later. I know it doesn't in the moment, but like, don't take it so serious. Like, just have fun with it.
Yeah.
At least at the beginning.
Yeah, I think
Sure.
I think for men out there, take risks and be a leader. If you like somebody, ask them out, and if you don't, then have some closure. Tell them that you don't. You're not interested. So
Yeah.
Be Albert Ellis.
yeah.
Deal with rejection. Yeah, no, that's so great. Oh, thank you so much. This is
course.
fun. It's so fun. Where can we find you?
You guys can find us at Date Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. And then you can find us at our personal Instagrams. It's _Emma P and at Zorric.cia.
No, Zorric.
Oh, Zorric.cia.
Yeah,
Sorry.
there we are. There
Perfect.
We are.
We'll have
put
it.
that in the
it.
show
Yeah.
notes as well.
Perfect.
Are there any other resources other than your podcast that are helpful for dating? Emma's excited. What is that?
Besides, what do you have?
I was going to say Howie.
Yeah, go ahead. Howie's good.
One of our people that has been on the show, his name is Brian Howie. He hosts his own podcast called The Great Love Debate, where he actually has like town hall meetings with men and female in the room, and they kind of get to talk about like what is actually like going on. So he always has great stuff. Yep, that's him.
There he is.
Awesome.
There he
Ziggy's
is.
on it. We'll put it all in the show notes. So
Look at his beautiful face.
yeah. Yes.
Very cool.
Ziggy's getting. Never mind, Ziggy. Jealous.
Just ignore him. That's what I do.
Well, thank you guys so much again.
Of course.
And please, if you haven't yet, please rate and review us. It means so much to us. Emma, Zorric, you'll have to do it too.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we shall.
It's a requirement.
Yeah, and again, y'all can find us at whiterockcounseling.com. Is there anything else?
And everydaytherapypodcast.com.
Also there.
Yeah.
Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you guys. See y'all next week.
Bye.